Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Tonight, we have author Rin Sher with us on the podcast. And Rin is a contemporary romance author who likes to add her own unique spin on her love stories. Originally from Down Under, Rin now resides in the frozen wonderland of Canada, where she spends her time writing stories that are sure to tug at your heartstrings. Rin's books are raw and do not shy away from addressing hard, real life struggles that many characters and readers can relate to, with flawed and believable characters who manage to fall in love under various situations. Welcome to the podcast, Rin.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
So, I'm going completely off script already. I need to know what made you go from the really nice, warm land down under to what I'm going to call the frozen hell space of the tundra.
Yeah, it's not really a wonderland.
Right. I hate being cold. That's the only reason I'm calling it that. It's actually, Canada's quite lovely.
Well, I was originally coming to work at a ski resort, and Australians, they advertise over there for Australians to come and work here for very minimum wage and just live and work at the ski resorts for, like a season and then go back. That's what it was supposed to be. But 6 months turned into a year, and then a year turned into 2 years, and then I kind of just stayed. And
wow.
I've been here. I've been here like 19 years now.
Oh my gosh. So do you think you'll ever move back home?
Probably not.
So Canada.
Probably not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've thought about it a few times. I've considered options, but I don't know. I've lived my whole adult life in Canada now, so this is more so what I know. So,
well, welcome to this continent. 19 years ago.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your life as an author. Can you tell us a little bit about how you knew you wanted to write for a living and how you were able to follow that dream?
I've always been a reader. Ever since I was little, I used to read books. And then there was a long time period where I didn't really read much. It was just a book here and there. And then when I got back into it, I was reading romance. And in my head, I kept coming up with different scenarios or different ways that the book could have gone. And so then I was like, I should just write my own thing out here. And so then it just kind of went from there, and I started writing my own stories. That was probably around like 2018, so not that long ago. And then I think 2020 is when I first published a book, and it was terrible. At the time, I was just like, you know what, I'll just put a book out there. Then the process kind of got a little better, a little clearer, came into my writing groove, and found what I liked a lot and just did everything a lot better.
So how do you feel you were able to do things better? Like, what did you learn from that first book? And why do you say it was terrible? I'm sure it was actually probably great.
I don't know. Every author that I've talked to have always said like their first book was the worst book, but they still love it because it was their first baby book. I don't know, the more I read, the more I found what I liked to read. And then that became how I wanted to write as well, like less telling a situation and more feeling the situation, and just, I don't know, just going over things over and over. And I'm someone who writes out their books on paper first. Everything is on paper, and then I type it up. And then like, as I'm typing it up, I alter some of the things as I'm going. And then I still do it like editing like 1,000 times as well. So
wow. First of all, I can't read my own handwriting. I had to start typing up our podcast notes because like I could not read my own handwriting. And also I would just be so terrified of something happening to my stack of papers. So like where do you put this stuff in a safe?
Oh.
Where do you put it?
Oh, it's just in my drawer under my bed. But I'm more scared of something happening to technology and then it just being gone, which is actually something that happened yesterday, but I'll talk about that later.
Oh, I'm sorry. So did your move from Australia to Canada, did it impact your writing at all? Does that come into play in any of your books?
No, I was still very young and had no idea what I wanted to do. I was just, living the young life. I was only reading here and there back then as well. And being an author was like not even in my mind. So it didn't really change anything. But I feel like if I hadn't have moved to Canada, then this part of my life wouldn't have happened as well. So
Wow, interesting. I love that. Well, and I really love that you know what you want to do with your life, because even, in my fourth decade, I'm like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. So it's great that you found it. So your book Wrecked is described as a street racing romance. What drew you into that world, and how did you learn about that setting?
Um, it actually started with Wronged because the character in that book had never broken the law and it was like just an all-around good guy. I knew I wanted my male character to be kind of a lot different than that. I wanted him to be into something illegal that could possibly change into something better if he were to pursue it, like, as a more legitimate thing. And I think I was just sitting there thinking about it in the car one day, and a race car, or like just a nice souped up car, kind of drove by, and I was just like, racing. And so I looked up like street racing and stuff like that in Boston, because that's where it's set. And there happened to be street racing that goes on there, illegal. And, so I was like, So then I just kind of looked into it more. And the more I looked into it, the more I was like, yeah, that's it. Because you know what? If he decides to go legitimate, he can always go into racing another way. So that's
Was
just kind of
there
how it happened.
was there anything you learned about street racing that was surprising for you?
Not really, just that it actually still happened in cities.
I think I'm
It's
surprised
like,
by that too.
Yeah.
yeah. And I saw some videos and I'm like, oh, it's how I describe it in the book, is like there's crowds around, they're in, a quiet part of town. It's midnight or 2 a.m. or whatever. And yeah, just partiers there to see the street race, and there's betting and money and all of this stuff. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to start looking to see if that's happening in our city at all. Mindy, what do you think? Like, where would they street race around here?
Gosh, who knows?
So, Rin,
I don't think we have anywhere.
I know, but I mean, I would probably say that about Boston too.
True.
So, Rin, can you tell us a little bit about your Broken Souls duet, and then also your upcoming release, The Woman?
So it's not actually a duet, it's part of a series of standalones, and there are at least 2 more books that will come eventually. But what it is, it's this thing happened at the beginning of Wronged, and basically all the books start with that night and then how that affected their lives from then onwards, like each of the group of friends that were together. So the beginning of Wronged, it's in the beginning of Wrecked, it's the same night, but his version kind of what happened, and then his life onwards. And same with the next couple of books. There was sexual assault involved in Wronged, but it wasn't with the main character. He just got accused of it and then went to prison for it. In the last book, it'll be the girl who got sexually assaulted in her story, and how that night and why she thought it was him.
Wow.
So
You said
yeah.
they're standalone, but does it work better to read them together or in order?
You can. So I had originally written Wronged just to be what it was, and just, that's it. But people were like, I really want to know what happened to this person, and I really want to know what happened to that person. And so I actually came up with her story first. And then someone was like, I really think the way you should, it's one of my beta readers, and so I love her to pieces. She was like, I really think you should tell all the rest of the stories before hers and have hers as the, bang finale. So that's what I did. And yeah.
That's a
So
smart beta reader. So
done
the
the two.
woman is from her point of view, then the
No, actually the woman is completely different. I needed like a totally different book, because those are very emotional and they're very like angst, and it takes a lot out of me to do those ones. So I needed something completely different to kind of give a refresher, but this one is like actually really hard and totally kind of crazy. So it is also taking a lot out of me. I actually watched Star Trek. So the inspiration kind of came from there. It's a world where females are used as companions, for just company or sex or whatever. And the defects in the women are actually who we would consider as normal women, like for us. So like they're just kind of like no brains, just stand there and smile and do whatever the guy tells her to do, basically. So
The defective
Yeah.
women are like the strong females that have the brains and all of that.
yeah.
Gosh,
But they try to get the guys like don't want those, so they're considered defects, and they change them. Like they send them off to this place to be fixed, basically.
Because
Oh,
they talk back.
So
how very Stepford Wives.
yeah.
So
So it's totally different, and
when does The Woman release?
it is actually out in like 2 weeks' time. I at the end of every book that I write, the release is always this kind of crazy, like, okay, and I'm gonna release it next week or tomorrow. I just decide. It's never like a planned out in months in advance or anything like that. I had actually wanted it to be done and released before Charleston, but you can't control everything. So
Right, you're right about that. That was my next question too. So thank you for answering that. But you know what? It sounds like you've got another great series. And I was just telling my daughter today, I was like, I have to save every penny I have because every book festival I go to, I end up coming back like derelict. Like I have no money in the bank. So I've got to be careful next weekend. Maybe it'll be everybody's like the first book in their series instead of buying like all 5 books in everybody's series. So we'll see if I can control myself. Okay, so we're going to go into the nerdy and dirty speed round. And this is just where we give you several prompts and we want you to tell us the first thing that pops into your head. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
What is the last movie you watched?
Spider-Man. It was either No Way Home or Far From Home or whatever those home ones.
No Way Home. No Way Home is really, really good. Have you seen the Into the Spider-Verse movies?
Yes, I have.
So cool. Although the last one kind of made me mad because it was all set up and no plot, and I was mad when it was over. But if you could be any fictional character, who would it be?
In movies or books?
Either.
Oh, that's a tough one. Any superheroes woman, basically, because I feel like they would be able to protect me pretty good. Although they're always getting attacked, so yeah,
you could be the superhero that protects all of us that need protecting.
Yeah,
that could be superpower. What book series do you always recommend?
It changes depending on like who is asking for what, but right now I've been in a kind of mafia stage, and although I haven't read anything for like a month, the books by Neva Altaj, the Imperfectly Perfect ones, I'm on like book 7, I think. So there's like a lot in that.
How many books are in that series? Do you know?
I think it's still just ongoing because there's so many different mafia groups. But at the moment, I think the 8th is set to release like in the next couple of months.
Great. I'll have to look at that.
I've enjoyed them.
What kind of music does your main character listen to?
Piano.
Classical piano.
Oh,
yeah. He also plays it.
Oh, he also plays it. That's actually nice and sexy. I like that.
Yeah, that's hot.
I know.
That's what I thought.
Rin, do you prefer plays or musicals?
Plays.
Name a food you refuse to eat.
Escargot.
What paranormal power would you want to have?
Mood altering, if that was a thing.
Oh, you're the first person to ever say that. Like your own or everyone else's? Or both?
Everyone else's.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else's. Because I'm empathic. And so like everyone's mood's kind of me. So I'm like, if I could alter their moods to make them happy, that would be good.
You could like get on board and be in a good mood. That would put me in a good mood type of thing.
Yeah.
What is your favorite activity on the weekends?
Reading, writing, camping in the summertime.
Where do
Love
you like to
camping.
camp? Do you like to camp in Canada or do you come down to the States?
It's always in Canada, like within a few hours, by lakes or in the mountains. The mountains are really nice.
Mm.
What is your favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving, I think,
Ooh, that's a good one.
because it's not about the money. It's not about the buying presents or whatever. It's, family stuff.
Yeah, it's
And the food's good.
I was about to say it's about the
Yeah, and
bourbon
the
and the
food.
pie for me.
Yeah.
What is your favorite childhood book?
From when I was younger, the BFG, and then like say early teens, probably the Sweet Valley High series.
We
Those are so-
from authors
I know.
specifically, we hear Sweet Valley High all the time. That's so
I
funny.
think we end up becoming romance readers, and for
Right.
authors, it just kind of works out that way.
True.
We need to like look into the correlation between Sweet Valley High and romance readers and see like, what
Yes.
percentage of us read those books.
Mhm.
Okay, our final question, the nerdy and dirty speed round, is what is your guilty pleasure?
What I can say on air, probably, probably
You can say anything
eating
on this
potato
podcast.
chips.
Eating
Yeah.
potato chips. Right. But for the record, our listeners know things about us that our husbands didn't even know until they listened. So,
Mhm.
there's no secrets around here.
Well, we're going to move on to the 3 tough questions, and these are all writing related. So let's see what we can come up with here. What is the most embarrassing or odd thing that you have had to research for a book? I know you researched street racing, but was there anything like really weird or something that you had to you were like, oh, I got to erase that Google search?
Okay, there are so many things because I look up everything. From the first book, Wronged, I actually had to look up what happens to this is pretty horrible, but what happens to a rapist in prison, how they are treated when they're released and on the sex offenders list, all of that type of stuff. And I found so many just awful stories of people who were wrongfully accused, and it broke my heart. The other thing is in Wrecked, he has piercings down there. So I had to look up the pictures so that I knew what I wanted
That sounds horrible. Oh no.
Yeah, what a
was
terrible research project.
Yeah, I had to go through so many pictures just
Oh.
to see what they were like. And it was, sending my friends pictures like, what do you think? What do you think of this one?
Why is Rin sending me all
And-
these dick pics?
Yeah.
So I only know of 3 options. Are there more than that?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many, and I learned that.
Will you
Yes,
send us
there are a
pictures?
lot.
I want to see.
What's that?
Will you send us some pictures?
I will try to find my files on that.
Your dick pic file on your computer.
Oh no, I have to look
Yeah.
through my dick pics again.
Yeah. If I have to, I will.
All right.
Yeah, I think those are the craziest ones.
That was pretty odd. And I mean, I don't know if I'd be embarrassed, but I guess I'd be embarrassed if my husband was like,
they're
why
not
are
really
you looking up all
embarrassing.
these piercings? So
Yeah.
what is a super specific detail about one of your characters that it's not something that'll change the plot or change the story or anything, but it just really makes you love them, and it makes them them?
So Remy in Wronged, she does the same thing I do, which is rub the thumb along the tips of her fingers when, anxious or thinking or stressed, all of that, but it has to be an even amount of times. So I made her do that as well. And because obviously it's something that I do, I like that about her, but it's very specific thing, but it changes absolutely nothing. So
I love that you put a little bit of yourself into her, though. That's really cool.
Mhm.
So what book character, and it could be yours or somebody else's, would you want to meet in real life, and how would you spend your time with them?
Since I'm on a mafia kick, I think it would have to be some guy in the mafia, because I would want it to be something completely different to what my actual life is like. So to experience something totally out of the ordinary, living in a gangster or mafia's life and just see how things go there. Although I probably wouldn't like the killing part because
I was
that
going to ask
makes
you,
me
would you want to be
queasy.
around when somebody got shot?
No, that makes me feel sick in the stomach. So maybe
Yeah.
not the mafia.
I just
Yeah,
You
I
just
don't
want
know.
to be around for the sexy times.
Well, I was gonna
I
say
do.
I want to sit in like the table that's in the kitchen inside the restaurant and eat like spaghetti and meatballs and hear them talk business. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, just kind of like, lean on the back of the chair, trying to
I
listen
want to
to
be like,
them.
how do you come up with this crazy ass shit, you guys? Like, that's what I want to know.
I love that. That's a new one. We haven't heard that before. So, um, all right. So now we're going to move on to 4 random questions. And the first one is, how do you relieve stress after a long, long day?
A bath. Well,
Mm.
bath, as you guys say.
I
A
think I like
bath.
boss better.
I like the way you
Bath.
say it
Yeah,
better for sure.
Yeah.
bath with a bath bomb. For like 2.5 hours, I can sit in there. It starts off really, really hot. Like I'm sweating. I need my water bottle and a glass of wine and a thing of chips. I have this tray in front of me. I just have to have everything. My tablet with a book. Like, yeah, that's
That's
perfect.
awesome.
Do you read actual copies of books in the bath or do you read on an e-reader?
On my tablet, yeah. Everything I read nowadays is Kindle or my phone or whatever. Yeah. I do have some paperback copies. Sorry, I didn't drink that much, but my words are coming out all
Again,
all weird.
I want to reiterate, you don't know how much we drink on this podcast sometimes. So
Okay,
it's
so
fine.
it's all good then.
Right. There's been a couple episodes where we've had my husband edits it and we're like, you're gonna have to really wrap up the end for us. It got a little out of control.
Sometimes it's the beginning.
Sometimes.
All right, next random question. What scene from any book, it could be yours or somebody else's, that there's a scene from a book that inspires you on a daily basis?
Again, it's probably from Wronged. Simply because like he was wronged. Basically, he was sent to prison for something he didn't do, and then he was treated like shit from the entire town that he lived in, except for Remy. And so it just kind of, and like the things that I researched for it, it kind of taught me to kind of look beyond what the appearance is immediately, because there may be something that happened that we're not aware of or anything like that. And she really looked further than the grumpy town recluse that he was, and decided to stick by him. When she found out like the truth, she decided to stick by him regardless of how hard it would be. So that's basically how I kind of.
Do you mind
The
me
world would be a
asking?
better place. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, do you mind me asking what type of feedback that you've received from sexual assault victims about the book? Because you're taking the stance of someone who's been wrongly accused, right? So I'm just super curious as to what type of feedback you've gotten from women.
Actually, it's been awesome. Like I've had no less than like a handful of women who have said this happened to a friend of mine. Everything that you've said in the book has happened to someone I know, and it was horrible, and I love that you brought that out and put it into a book. So it's been awesome. And like those that haven't had the situation happen, they're all like, it makes me think twice about things because, there's just, yeah, I don't know. There's just, it's a really, you feel so horrible for Jacob, the main character. And everybody who's read it has just been like, I just wanted to give him a hug. And, I'm so glad Remy looked past what everyone was saying. And, so it's been really good, actually. There's not a single person that's been like, oh, why would you do it like that?
Right. Well, great. That's actually what I was
Yeah.
wondering. So thank you for answering that.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Moving on to it. This one's a really fun one. A fun random question. Describe your personal style in middle school.
Personal style. I was a tomboy growing up, so shorts. Always had my hair up in a ponytail. Yeah, I was a real tomboy. But I did like to do like really cool things with my hair. I did twists and things. And then there's this one thing that I did. I now I think that it's totally crazy, but rubber bands, if you put like you start it up and then you kind of, do it as if you're tying it up, but you put space between and then your hair kind of bounces up and does this thing. And I did that like so many times to like in Australia, it's only elementary and high school. So I did it in high school. But yeah,
You'd be
total
surprised.
tomboy.
That's coming back in style. My daughter did her hair like that for like a local music festival. So
Okay. I had
So you were
never
a
seen it before when
trendsetter.
I did it. It was just like, discovered it one day when I was
Yeah.
playing with a rubber band in my hair.
Oh, that's so funny. What is the scariest thing that you've ever done just for fun?
Scariest thing? Probably go out on a catamaran out in the ocean. And then it like tipped over. So I am
Yeah, that would freak me
so
out.
afraid. I'm afraid of water where I can't see what's underneath me or I can't see what's around me. And so the fact that I went out on this like catamaran that was like flimsy and then it flipped out like way out in the ocean. Yeah, that's the scariest thing probably.
How many
Yeah.
people were on the vessel with you?
At the time, it was just my dad and his friend. So those three of us. And it was just like a smallish one. So
Well, when we
yeah.
meet at Lit, I want to hear more about how you got the boat the right side up. That's what's
I was
terrifying.
probably too busy like panicking to see how they flipped it over. But yeah.
You're like, that's your job.
Yeah.
So we know you've got The Woman coming out. What are you writing next? What's the next on the horizon for Rin Sher?
I have like 7 on the go at once, but 2 that I'm focusing on are the next 2 in the Broken Souls series. So after Wronged and Wrecked. I've already like started both of them and have them underway, but focusing on The Woman, getting it out of the way, and then I'll do those 2.
Awesome. We've already mentioned we're going to see you at Lit in Charleston. It's coming up very, very soon. Do you have any other projects or festivals or signings coming up?
I do actually. I'm going to HEA Readers in November, signing there, and then Readers Take Denver next year.
I'll be there too.
Romance Invades the Canadian Rockies, but it's held in Calgary, not the Rockies, next year, and then probably Lit again at the end of next year. So those are all the signings I got coming up, and then a million books in my head. It'll never end.
Sounds busy.
Yeah.
Where can we find you online? Do you have an online presence, any kind of social media or places you like to connect with readers?
All the usual suspects: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I have a website, rinsherauthor.com. Those are the main areas. Like I get people that will message me on Instagram more so than anything else, but anywhere is fine.
What's your favorite way to connect with? Which one's your favorite platform to connect with readers?
Probably Facebook because I have my group on there. Before that, it was Instagram.
Yeah.
And what is your group called, Rin, in case someone wants to come join?
Rin's Romance Readers.
That's
something,
cute.
totally unique.
No, I love the alliteration. That's awesome. So you mentioned earlier that you're a bit of a Trekkie, I think. Like you said, you like Star Trek.
I am. Yes.
So are you a part of that fandom in any way? Like, do you do things with that? And are you involved in any other fandoms?
No to any other fandoms, but I have been to like Star Trek conventions and I follow like a bunch of pages that are Star Trek related. And I kind of keep up to date with all of those things going on. So yeah, but I'm a total nerd
very
for Star
big
Trek.
fandom. It's a huge fandom.
Yeah.
So on our podcast, we end every episode talking about what our nerdiest thing of the week is. And it could be book related, it could be something we did, something we said, anything that just kind of we nerded out about. So we would love to hear what your nerdiest thing of the week was.
Oh, prob- probably just talking to a friend about Star Trek about because I'm watching Lower Decks right now, like the cartoon version of the show, and just talking about the episode that was on or something dumb like that. Yeah, the other things I probably wouldn't consider nerdy, like reading and all of that stuff. So yeah.
Pretty good nerdy. That was a good nerdy item, Ren. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, thank you
Well,
so much for your time. Oh, I'm sorry, Mindy. Did you have another question?
no, I was going to say thank you for your time.
Okay. Well, double thank you for your time, Ren. It's been such a pleasure getting to talk to you tonight. And we look forward to seeing you at Lit, gosh, in like 9 days or so.
Yeah.
So excited about it. It's coming up so quickly. I'm so excited to see you guys.
It's going to be great. Well, we look forward to it. And thank you so much again. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.